In the name of the living God, the Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Amen. So Moses came, summoned the elders of the people, and set before them all these words that the Lord had commanded him. The people all answered as one, "Everything that the Lord has spoken, we will do." And then we read, Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits, to cast them out and to cure every disease and every sickness. The summons of Moses is very different from the summons of Jesus. Moses tells, but Jesus gives authority. And then Jesus teaches. We're told that he teaches his disciples, students. That's what the word means. But Matthew goes on then to name not 12 disciples, but the 12 apostles. In our class on the book of Acts, we were asked, someone raised the question, what is the difference between the disciples and the apostles? And what we learned was that it could be the same people. A disciple could be an apostle. Apostle could be a disciple, just like we're seeing it here. We're talking about the same 12 people, but they have a different role. The role of the disciple is being called to learn, and the role of the apostle is to be sent to bring good news. And that good news is the kingdom of heaven has come near. But before being sent, these 12 disciples learn. It reminds me of those recent medical graduates, the people that just graduated from medical school this year, who were then sent out to backfill, to shore up the medical staffing in our hospitals all around the country when the coronavirus infections had spiked. They learned, and then they were sent. And they learned, those medical students and the disciples learn by observation. They observe and participate and accompany Jesus as he goes to villages and cities and proclaims and heals. And then Jesus sends them to do the very same thing. Proclaim the good news and heal. And I think as they observed all of that, as they traveled about with Jesus, they also learned about compassion. We hear in today's gospel about the compassion that Jesus had for the people. That he saw the people as sheep without a shepherd. Because that's an important thing you have to learn if you are going to be an apostle, if you're going to bring good news, even if you're going to teach, you have to learn compassion. Because without compassion, you can't do anything. With judgment, which I think is one of the opposites of compassion, with judgment, you are met with ears that won't hear and eyes that are blind. So what have we learned so far? First of all, the harvest is plentiful. Those apostles and we ourselves are confronted by a bumper crop of need in a broken world. But we must be disciples before we become apostles. And we have a lot to learn. Our teacher, who is Jesus, shows us more than he tells us. And what we see is compassion. So I want to say a little more about compassion. Compassion is not the same thing as sympathy. Compassion is shoulder to shoulder. It does not have a downward trajectory. Compassion is a feeling with somebody. And that means it's a feeling without judgment. When Jesus healed those people, when we read of his healings, we don't hear him asking whether they ate a high fiber grain-based diet with lots of fruits and vegetables, or how much they exercised every week. And so let us think about what all this means for us. Suppose we wanted to heal the world. Imagine that we would want to do that. Let's take, for example, that we want to heal the world of racial inequality. And suppose that we know enough that we know we have to do that with compassion. Where do we start? We have to learn before we are sent. So where do we start learning? Where do we watch Jesus so that we can emulate him? And the learning, my brothers and sisters, it starts right here on our own doorstep. Jesus, you will see in this gospel reading, he starts with his own people and he instructs his apostles to start right on their doorstep. He says, "Go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no towns of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel," those sheep without a shepherd. I was troubled by this verse from the gospel until I attended the clergy Bible study that we have every week with the bishop, because I felt that it was exclusive. I thought, see, it's this Matthew's gospel is just telling us that the Jews are the chosen people and that those are the only people that Jesus cared about. But after listening to my colleagues, I realized that it's actually about starting at home, starting right here, not in Ferguson, Missouri, or Minneapolis, but with ourselves. Let us consider, do we need healing? Are we broken? Are we sheep without a shepherd? Do we know that the kingdom of heaven has come near? And then let's learn about the ones who are not like us. Let's learn and not rescue. I'm saying this all because we had a very stimulating conversation last week at the coffee hour after our service. People were eager to understand more about the brokenness in our justice system. But there was an eagerness also to close the deal right away. What can we do? What can we do to fix? And I'm asking that before we fix blame, or perhaps instead of fixing blame, that we learn to fix the problem. to learn and not to rescue and not to correct, but just to listen and learn about ourselves and learn where we need healing. Because Jesus sees us as harassed and helpless. And the challenge for us is, can we admit to that helplessness? Amen.